I've been meaning to do this video for a couple days. Recently had a conversation talking about how in a lot of Christianese and churches you hear the phrases rebuke Satan, and I've heard things like, I rebuke Satan and my checkbook is full. They're laughable kinds of things, but they're not really. So many people are fooled and deceived. Nobody can touch us unless God allows it. Every single thing comes through the hands of God and is ordained by God and allowed by God and purposed by God, for of Him, through Him, and to Him are all things. There are no exceptions. The book of Job is a great example of how things work. It was Jesus that said to Satan, "What do you think of my servant Job?" It was God that gave him permission to test his servant. What God allowed, Job cannot stand up and say, "I rebuke you, Satan, you cannot have my kids." God allowed and gave Satan privilege to do things within His providence. Is where we fight Satan is in the struggle of the entire book of Job, where he is searching out his thoughts, his heart, his understanding, his faith. His wife told him, just curse God and die. And that was the entire purpose, was that Satan said, if you allow me to touch his body, he'll curse you to his face, or he'll curse you to your face. And Job withstood and held his faith. The Lord gives and the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Mighty strongholds that we fight against are not my son getting hit by a car, or my wife dying of cancer, or me dying of cancer, or my grandma dying, or my parents dying. Not one single thing can stop what God has ordained. The battle is fought in our thought life, in our hearts. Satan's come to steal, kill, and destroy, and to rob us of our faith. Jesus said, Satan has asked for you to sift you as wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith will not fail. When you return to me, feed my sheep. We are to fight against the enemy, but it's not telling him, rebuking him, saying, my checkbook is full, I am not broke. No, if you spend all your money, you probably are broke. However, it is when the enemy is trying to say, hey, you don't deserve this, or you're going to miss that, or they should like you, or they don't like you, or all of these thoughts that he casts and he urges. And it's already in our flesh, so it doesn't take much pushing. But the battle is taking each thought captive into the obedience of Christ and saying, Lord, you are God. Have your way. I trust you. Do as you please. Taking each thought captive. One of my favorite verses is where Jesus is in the garden praying, and he says, my heart is troubled. What shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? No. For this purpose I have come to this hour. Father, glorify your name. That is how we fight the enemy. Not rebuking him, saying, I am not sick, I rebuke you. And yet that's taught. People believe that, and that's taught. That's garbage. Absolute garbage. You've been taught a lie and you're believing a lie. Stop that crap. Instead, if we suffer by the will of God, let Him be glorified in our suffering. Let God have his perfect way in us, and let us surrender and yield to him as living sacrifices and worship him while he does as he pleases, how he pleases, because he pleases. Amen.